Mr. Neal is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had resolved when I came in not to say anything in partisan response, but the last two speakers caused me to state an obvious fact, and that is that our Republican friends are always in favor of balancing the budget when there's a Democratic president. And to have heard the last two speakers go on about how we arrived where we are with these deficits is to miss the point that they didn't say anything during the preceding 8 years. And I think that that bears noting as well. Now, your DNA is in the legislative branch of government. You worked for Tip O'Neill and you worked for Joe Moakley. You know how to make a deal. You worked for the only president who has balanced the budget 4 times since the end of World War II. You understand precisely how this is done. And I think that that ought to be acknowledged as well today. In February, you raised concerns, or the Department of Treasury raised concerns about an EU proposal to implement a new financial transaction tax in 11 Eurozone countries. And in its current form, that will harm U.S. investors. It's more and more likely that some Eurozone countries will implement a very broad-based FTT sometime next year. This proposed tax is intentionally designed to have a broad global reach. It would result in multiple levels of taxation, and the effective rate, as you know, could be much higher than advertised. Can you update the committee on what Treasury is doing to protect U.S. investors from this European tax? And could you also update the committee on your recent conversations, Mr. Secretary, as you traveled to Europe?
Congressman, we have made a different decision as an administration than many others in Europe are making. We have a financial responsibility fee that's been in our budget. We think that that's a better way to raise revenue from the financial services side. And we've made that point both here and in conversations overseas. I think the design element that you're describing is a very troubling one. What other countries decide to do in their borders is their business. So we can disagree about the best way to tax domestic financial services. But it is not an acceptable policy from our perspective for other countries to create a tax that has an extraterritorial reach and would levy a tax on a transaction in the United States. Mm-hmm. When I had my meetings earlier this week in Europe, I made that point very clearly to a number of European officials, both in the European community in Brussels and in meetings with finance ministers, making it clear that we found that to be unacceptable, and we would continue to make that clear. So we're engaged with them. They understand our view, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you. And Mr. Secretary, I'm pleased that you included the auto IRA bill in the budget that I've worked on for many, many years, and a word of thanks to Treasury for recommending another item that I worked on for 14 years to kill AMT. So it takes time around here to get these things done, but the auto IRA proposal, I think, is superbly positioned to help with some of the issues that were raised by some of our friends on the other side as well.
Totally agree.
A reminder that it is endorsed by the Heritage Foundation. I'm still waiting for a Republican to sign on to my bill. And in addition, it's broad bipartisan consensus that it would address some of these issues. Could you speak to the auto IRA proposal as well?
Yeah. I think the auto IRA proposal is a very good idea. It's something that doesn't require that anyone participate in an IRA. It just shifts the decision point. Do you opt in or do you opt out? We think that if you make it an opt-out, which is what auto IRA would do, there are an awful lot of people who do not start saving very early in their careers who will do so. And if you save when you're 24, 25, all the way through, you build up a much more substantial nest egg for your retirement because of compounding over the years. You never can catch up for the early years that you were out of retirement saving. So I think it's a very good idea. It's something that we have put in our budget. We continue to advocate. And perhaps in the context of tax reform, it's something that would have the ability to actually be given serious consideration.
Well, the other part of the auto IRA I think that has particular appeal is that I think insurance agents, community bankers, and credit unions, even though they're small accounts, they would like the opportunity with the potential to expand business down the road to sell that very concept. Sure. And another word of thanks on the Savers Credit. That's very important to me. I've worked on that for many, many years here, and I'm pleased to see that you've paid attention to that again in the budget. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you.